Hello, everybody. This is Gynarchic Awakening. Hope everyone is doing okay during this festive holiday season. I am here to do it's kind of like a response in a way to a comment that was left on X in relation to the work that I had disclosed to the public. Excuse me for a moment. So I had disclosed this to the public. I wanted them to see it. I wanted to share. Um, I hope that it's had a positive effect on the community. I want to believe that it has. Every so often in life, you run across a comment that's just irresistible to, like, you can't ignore it. Like, you just see it and you're like, oh, this is going to be, I got to do this video, or I got to talk about this. So now that we're here, we can finally do it, film it, talk about it. I only wrote down one of the two quotes involved, but this is going to have to do with Gynarchic activism. If you are a Gynarchist who is watching this, or somebody who is on the pathway to becoming one, please feel free to share these videos with other Gynarchists or to show them to other Gynarchists. I know that sometimes they're a slog to get through, but I think that what I'm doing, and I'm hoping I hope what other people may participate in doing, will make a big difference in the long run. I hope by the time you're finished watching this video, some of my motivations for what it is that I do, like what is driving my activism work, will enlighten people as to how I perceive the situation. Because my perspective is a huge driving force behind what I do. I have a lot of those. Like I said in the last video, I couldn't adequately explain everything. So he wrote one comment that said, social media influencers, I'm not mentioning the influencer's name on my channel. I don't have any respect for these individuals. I don't want to talk about these individuals. I consider them to be very problematic to society, and especially to young men and young boys. And of course also to the other, but I mean, especially with the guy involved. I believe he is either going to be facing sex trafficking charges, or he is already facing them. I don't know all the details, because really at the end of the day, he's one misogynist in a sea of them. So he said, social media influencers have far more immediate reach and power than library books. All right. So I'm not going to lie to you. This comment got under my skin. I spent nearly a year busting my ass, working very hard and diligently, consistently. I was very disciplined about this. And somebody felt the need to compare what I did, as if I don't know that other people have more influence than me, as if I don't know, or as if other people don't know that there are other individuals out there who have larger audiences, larger followings, a greater impact on the culture. We already know that, so it kind of felt like you were trying to downplay it. But I decided I wanted to take the opportunity to really follow up on this comment and reply to it in full, because maybe when I explain my perspective a little more, everyone will begin to understand what would drive a man to suggest 2 Gynarchy books to libraries around the planet. It's because some people might not buy the other reason. Like, really, dude, like, what is it? Is it this one? Is it that one? There is another reason why I did this, and why I act with a sense of not just discipline and consistency, but also, in my view, desperation. You said something else too, which I didn't quote because it was absurd, saying we can't let people can't let X become a misogynistic echo chamber or whatever. It's never going to be. There's a lot of feminists, a lot of radical feminists, a lot of other groups that are attacking these individuals right now. They get attacked left and right on social media. There is no way it's ever going to become an echo chamber for these 2 people. There's always going to be bigger groups that are going to be attacking them. So I don't know why you felt the need to make that point. It's a non-point. Gynarchists, by contrast, are a much smaller community. We don't have the kind of political power that the feminist movement has or that radical feminists have. They're a much bigger block of people. And I think that they're doing a magnificent job exposing these individuals for not only their behavior, but their criminal conduct, especially the guy. So they're doing their job, and they're doing it very well. I don't know exactly what it is that you think I or another Gynarchist can do, because we are from a small community. We do not have the range and impact that these other groups have, and we may not have it for a very long time. So there's that. That's unfortunately the truth of the matter. So when you think about activism, one of the factors in doing Gynarchic activism, insofar as I'm concerned, insofar as I feel is relevant, is you need to think about what it is you can do versus what you can't do. I can't make people like me on social media. I can't make people watch my videos. I can't make people do anything they don't want to do. So there's no guarantee that if you make a channel that it's going to be as big as what some of these social media influencers have, because social media influence is not entirely determined by things you can control. For example, your physical appearance. There are some in your voice. There are certain things, like you can tweak them a bit, you can play with them a little, you can change them a little bit, but ultimately there is something to be said about physical appearance, about the way about your talking, how you're going about it. There might not always be a viable option to become some big social media influencer. And that's not the game I'm playing, sir. I believe this is a guy who made this comment. I am playing a long game, just like how other Gynarchists in this community are also playing a long game. My long game, and I'm going to have to do 2 videos on this. I'll do one now and I'll do one after I finish my chores later today. But the first of these videos the topic, of course, is Gynarchic activism, staying power as a consideration. I am not playing a short game here. Social media is a short game. Not only because of the fact that one of them is facing criminal charges, but because social media itself is always going through fluctuations and changes. Things are in today and out tomorrow. But in addition to that, and also, also the fact that that this guy is connected to people in power that a lot of other human beings right now are resenting, that's not going to help his social media influence in the long run. His connection to radical politicians will ultimately be his undoing, because once that person goes, he's not going to be able to get the airtime or the attention that he was getting before. Once the current regime is out of power, however that happens, and we get some more moderate voices in the White House, in government, a lot of these radicals are going to splinter off, they'll become isolated from each other, and it'll die. And that's because you have their leader who is getting old, getting sick, and he is no longer able to rally them the way that he used to. He's losing his control over his own base. And once that goes, the people that have really fringe, out of this world positions, they're going to be marginalized by the higher ups in their own political parties, because those people are going to be wanting to do damage control, because they're going to want to retain whatever advances they gained by gambling on this leader and the radicals that he was able to rally and unite for whatever time he was able to do it. But there's something else too. I'm going to explain my perspective to you. This is a very brutal view of reality. This is not an optimistic view. I consider myself a cynic of human nature, particularly of male nature. I believe that industrialized civilization is currently in the process of collapsing. I have been reading up on what climate scientists have been saying. In the month of, November, I read one scientist saying that the world was 1.55 C. A while back, when I was a younger adult, these people were talking about how we need to do something by 2030 to limit the world to 1.5 C. That obviously is not going to happen. And what I am learning by reading these reports that scientists are publishing for people to look at and study and learn is that the scientists literally underestimated the rate at which the planet was warming. There was a belief, I think maybe even a decade ago, a little bit more, where scientists were saying it'd take like 100 years to get to this place or that place in the environment. And now what we're learning, now what we know that we didn't know, is that the world is accelerating, the heating of the planet is accelerating even faster than they predicted and that they thought would ever happen. Not predicted. It's happening faster than they thought it could. And so here's the thing. What I want to talk about today is in relation to that. The staying power as a consideration. When you are an activist, you have to consider not only your actions, but the staying power of those actions. What will be the long-term benefit of your actions to the public or your community in this case? If industrialized civilization collapses, social media won't be a thing. All these other great services that you have probably won't be a thing either, because in order to have the internet, you need professional intellectual minds that can maintain it. But if billions of people die, which is looking like that's what's going to happen, if a lot of human beings die, then those systems can no longer operate and function as they do. So if you don't have access to the internet and you don't have access to any way to communicate with somebody who is in Australia or New Zealand or Finland or Russia or wherever it is, or China, if you don't have the ability to communicate with people across continents, that raises a very important, vital, critical question for not only every other community, but for the Gynarchic community in particular, is what kind of actions can I take that will have staying power that takes this into account? Now, one thing I have noticed about some men in and out of my community is the fact that they get obsessed over other people's successes and it blinds them to what they can do in the present. One of the many reasons why I've been doing these things, why I've been suggesting books just like this one right here, is because books have staying power that is far greater than that of social media. Social media could be in today and gone tomorrow. Your internet could be in today and gone tomorrow. Let's suppose that in about 20 to 30 years, our industrialized civilization goes poof, and a bunch of people die. Now, with the actual induced scarcity that becomes a consequence of the collapse of this civilization, people are going to be really concerned about doing things like getting food, water, trying their best to survive in a world that is no longer hospitable to their existence because they lived out of balance with it for so long. You won't be able to just flip on your phone and talk to the other Gynarchists on Reddit. You're not going to be able to go on X and post and get likes and whatever from all the other Gynarchists on Reddit. And moreover, all that stuff, all those videos, all that other content, that's gone. You no longer have access to it. You probably won't even have the ability to play it because you won't have access to electricity because the electric grids will be down. The people that will survive an industrialized collapse are not going to be the intellectuals, most likely. It's going to be savage, ruthless people that will do whatever it takes to survive. That's the sad truth of it. And there will be a period of time of savagery where especially men in particular, will abandon any morals they have if it means living another day. And so, how do you preserve not only our community, but how do you preserve the ideas? How do you ensure that they make it to a time when that savagery subsides? When, if we do survive through that catalysm, there's a return to normalcy. This is how you do that. Sorry. This is how you do that, okay? That's why I act the way that I do. It's not just some kind of charity, it's not just contribution, it's survival and desperation. I believe, and I will go into this in another video on the particular kind of activism that I do. I believe that what I'm doing, and I'm hoping what other people are doing, will provide enough resources so that if one book gets lost or another gets lost, that somebody can hold on to it, because books can last a very long time, especially if you take excellent care of them. They have that kind of power. So one thing I would caution other people about is, yes, I understand the damage that these people are doing. I'm not denying that. It's there. But my activism wasn't about the harm they're doing or the harm there isn't doing. My activism about what can I, as an unemployed 33-year-old man who can't get a job, what can I do for my community? How do I contribute to my community? How do I do something that's significant that will make a difference for my community? Those are the thoughts that were on my mind, not, oh no, Andrew or whoever these people are, whatever they are, I don't know all their names. They're all getting bigger or they're all getting more support. Like, oh no, the balloon is bigger. Well, eventually the balloon's going to pop because industrialized civilization is going to implode. And the collapse will be a vicious, fucked up thing to see. And I feel sorry for not only my community members, some of which are very young right now, who will have to endure this. I feel sorry for damn near everybody involved, except, of course, the ones who are directly responsible for it. The ones who have the power and authority to change the system in more direct ways, but chose not to. They're going to get what they deserve for this shit. But all the other innocent people that don't have the power to stop them, especially the women and the girls, my heart goes out to them because they're not going to deserve what happens next. My activism is based on a ruthless pragmatism, not just cynicism. I look at the situation and go, okay, there's no indication whatsoever that the oil consumption habits of industrialized civilizations is going to change anytime soon. All of these meetings that these nations have are considered a joke by many climate activists and scientists. They make fun of these people, and they also despair every day. So, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to build up some social media following in just the rare hope that one day I catch on and have thousands of people watching my videos in the short time before the civilization goes? No. I don't believe that has staying power. I don't believe that this internet shit's going to last. I believe that activism work, real activism lay work, it is what is necessary to not only spread and help grow the community, but to preserve it, to help it survive. And books are the best way to do that. It's not just about how many people you're reaching. It's about how long you can keep those ideas on this planet. And books are the best way to do that. The books, the thing is, right? You say you're industrialism, let's say it's collapsed. Let's say everything's all fucked and you got nothing better to do. What are people going to entertain themselves with, do you think? Books. Books are going to make a huge fucking comeback during the collapse of industrialized civilization because they're easy to indulge in. All you got to do is grab one and open it up. It'll be much easier to actually, books right now, I understand that there are people like, well, people don't read anymore. That's because you have the internet and social media, whatever. Take all of that stuff away, and what's going to make a roaring comeback? Books. Because books will be easier to access. Books will provide them with the sense of escapism and entertainment, but especially escapism that they will desperately need because it's going to be their only form of escapism that they'll have access to. They're not going to be able to get away from the horrors of what's going to happen to them. when they have to keep roaming from place to place looking for food or berries or whatever. They're going to need something that they can do with their time while they're waiting. They need to be able to take something on the go, because what's going to happen is people are not going to be able to just stay. They're going to be migrating. They're going to be moving from place to place, trying to find out where the good water is, where the good food is, where anything is. So what can you take with you on the go? Yeah, this book or books like it. Book reading will make a huge comeback in the aftermath of the collapse of industrialized civilization. People are going to be reading books like crazy, because their material conditions, their environment will be so hostile to them, so awful, that they'll wish that they were plugged into the fucking Matrix. But the closest thing to that is this. So for whenever they're not, whenever they want to just not be reminded of all this horrible awfulness, they're going to crack open a book and they're going to start reading it. Whatever that book is, because that is going to be their only way. Book, it won't just be a form of escapism. It'll be a form of coping. It'll help to provide some kind of stability, some kind of counterbalance to all the chaotic, awful craziness that they are going to go through if they survive that initial collapse. The survivors, this is going to be one of their only forms of comfort, one of their only ways to help manage it. That is the power of books is not to be underestimated, because you can't simply weigh its power by how it's doing compared to other forms of media today. Because books have been around for thousands of years for a reason. Because books, you don't need to plug in a book to read it, whatever. You just open it up. It's one of the great things about it. You open it up, it's pretty small, you can carry it with you. The internet, like once it's gone, these people aren't going to be able to have a following. Not just because a lot of those followers are going to be dead. They'll starve to death or whatever. There's another part to that. It's that, people are going to be a little bit too busy, too preoccupied with doing everything they can to survive, to care what some random asshole on the internet has to say about anything. A lot of these services, these entertainers, they're able to do what they do because people exist in a state of relative luxury. Even the poorest person right now has a higher standard of living than pretty much every other poor person that's ever existed in the human timeline. Period. Take a poor person from 1,000 years ago and bring them here and see how much they're like, what the fuck? Like, we have access to like YouTube. YouTube alone is proof of our collective raised standards of living. A poor person can get on the internet and literally access an infinite amount of entertainment material. They don't have to pay anything. They just have to watch a few ads every once in a while. You fucking kidding me? So that's why they're able to grow and do what they do, because it's simply like that. But it won't be like that forever. So if you're going to do activism work, if you're interested in it, please consider the staying power of books. Don't just, maybe you're right about the more immediate reach. Yes, that's correct. But the staying power is what's important here, not the power itself. It's the staying power. It's recognizing that the conditions of humanity are changing, that what's here today is probably going to be gone tomorrow. So having that kind of situational awareness is necessary as an activist. It's necessary to not only the work you're doing today, but the benefits that your community will reap from it tomorrow. Will they be benefits that they can reap from it long term? Because I'll tell you what, I could build up a social media following. The second industrialized civilization collapses, I can no longer communicate with people. I no longer have the ability to talk to anybody unless they're in my in-person community. That's going to be a big fucking problem. So, given that, I believe, my personal opinion is that the best thing that I can do, and I hope that it's something other people will take part into, because I would hope that other people would recognize, the situation for what it is. And it's a very dire, dangerous situation. Our ideology is at risk of being annihilated. And we're not the only ones. There's a lot of different ideologies and thoughts processes that are at risk of being wiped out as a result of a collapse of industrialized civilization. And a lot of Gynarchists, I don't know if it's because they're uncomfortable having the subject or they don't bring it up, but it is necessary. That conversation is necessary in whatever form you want to have it. But I think as a community, we do have to ask ourselves, what the fuck are we supposed to do if our civilization collapses? How are we supposed to maintain community cohesion? How are we supposed to maintain these? How are we supposed to hold on to these ideas? How are we supposed to ensure that humanity does not lose the ability to come into contact with Gynarchic thought processes? How do we do that shit? How do we ensure that they stay? Books. So my advice for others, if they should choose to take it, is this. If you want Gynarchy to have a future, if you are paying attention to what climate scientists are saying, my advice to you is please, please, please donate books to libraries that don't have them yet. Donate these Gynarchy books to libraries that don't have them yet. The Pillars of Gynarchy, 150 years ago, please donate to them. Please donate to the bookstores that do not have them yet. And also, please, when you're doing your donations or your suggestions or whatever, take into account the areas. Take into account everywhere, because the more spots you put up on the map, the greater chance there is that some of those books will survive the collapse and that people will bring them with them on their journey around the fucked up version of the Oregon Trail. There'll be, and if you have enough books in circulation around the planet, some of those books will find their hands at the people, and people will take steps to ensure that those books are not destroyed or burned or whatever. If history has been any example, we all learned what happened with I think we've all at least heard once about Alexander's library. It was horrible. They burned a bunch of savage men burned the damn thing to the ground. They destroyed it. And all that information that was there is lost forever. We can never reclaim it. It's gone. So having books, having our own copies, like I have a copy of each of her books, having your own copies of her books and ensuring that other Gynarchists have copies and that other institutions have copies, if you increase the amount of books that are in circulation, you are increasing the chances that not only will those books make it to post-apocalypse when people find like a balancing act, when they find some stability, you ensure that the thought processes, you ensure the belief systems survive. You're increasing you're increasing their chances of survival. You're increasing the chance that those ideas will eventually make it to the next generation. And of course, you're keeping those ideas alive, and you're doing an infinite favor, especially to the authors of these Gynarchist literature, who took the time out of their day, who put serious hardcore effort into doing the research, into writing these things out, into thinking it out, into trying to explain it. You're doing those people a favor, and you're doing your community a favor when you donate and suggest to books. And the more places you do it to, the better the chances of the ideology not only surviving, but possibly in the future thriving. Anywho, that's all for now. The next video, sorry for the length, if you're still here, the next video is going to concern, it's another one regarding Gynarchic activism, but it has to do with the games of chess and Go and their influences on what it is that I do. And maybe that could influence the way your activism works in the future. Maybe that could get you thinking about what kind of activism you want to engage in for the community. Thanks for your time, everybody. Please take care, and I hope you have a great day. Gotta get to chores. I gotta start cleaning some dishes and stuff. Ha ha ha.